Hello, my name is Cindy Hansen. I'm the Senior Clinical Director at My Outcomes, and it is my pleasure to share with you our measurement-based care best practice secrets. I've been working for over a decade now with agencies to develop and implement measurement-based care best practice initiatives. And back in the early 2000s, a handful of randomized clinical trials promised a valid, reliable patient self-report process, the Partners for Change outcome management system. It produced session-by-session predictions of treatment outcomes, measuring treatment effectiveness and the strength of the therapeutic alliance. Plus, the Partners for Change outcome management system, randomized clinical trials were commonly reporting a doubling in treatment effect size and a significant reduction in dropouts. The simplicity and feasibility of the outcome and session rating scales and the stoplight signaling system were exactly what agencies and therapists needed. However, larger agencies were having greater difficulty in maintaining fidelity to this brief, simple tool, let alone reporting improvements in treatment outcomes. We could point to reasons for failure, but we didn't have the blueprint for successful implementation we needed. In 2013, we published the 10 Steps to Success, a guide to becoming a feedback-informed system of care, advocating the need for creating a culture of feedback. We worked alongside two well-informed, scientifically based associates, Dr. Dean Fixon and his expert team at the National Implementation Research Network, and the Partners for Change Outcome Management Systems co-founders, Dr. Scott Miller and Barry Duncan, with colleagues from the International Center for Clinical Excellence and the Heart and Soul of Change project. Since the beginning, we have promoting the use of specific guidelines to support agencies in creating a culture of feedback. Ratland et al. In 2018 recently completed the first RTC on PCOM's implementation and confirmed just how important it is to pay attention to the cultural shift aspect of this process. This guide represents a departure from past recommendations of implementation. These traditional methods are still being used here at My Outcomes. We've simply taken this and added improvements. No need to reinvent the wheel. However, we have augmented this system of implementation into a more efficient model for agencies looking to double their effectiveness in a more timely manner. We can proudly state that 8 out of 10 My Outcomes subscribers are still with us today due to their successful time during implementation. In response to the demands placed on mental health service providers to meet Joint Commission accreditation requirements, in 2018, we began recommending a stepped approach to implementation. It bypassed the pilot and instead moved the whole organization forward with baby steps. We are confident we can accelerate the cultural shift required by putting all the key factors required in place from day one. In this model, we are slowing down the process of therapists using the scales with clients into a stepped approach that moves the teams through certain milestones in the first year. It's expected this accelerated implementation model will produce noticeable improvements in treatment outcomes in 2 to 3 years. This may not seem like an accelerated growth curve to the uninitiated, but given that current expectations are 4 to 7 years to reach full implementation, we believe that this is an innovation worthy of sharing. The issue at hand is that revised standards are designed to push organizations beyond data collection to the meaningful use of data to inform and improve treatment. The Joint Commission has tried to highlight and educate administrators on the difficulties they face. Change should become the focus of organization. Leaderships need to embrace the use of outcome measures and convey to staff why it is important and how it can be helpful to increase clinical effectiveness of both staff and for the individual served. This measurement-based care successful implementation best practices guide is for all primary and behavioral health clinics treating mental and substance use disorders that have been mandated to implement a measurement-based care best practice system. Our best practices include, first, setting clear objectives. The JC has set the objective. You must use a standardized patient self-report measure to assess treatment effectiveness, identify when it is not working, and make adjustments to get it on track. Make sure you choose the right system to meet this objective. Choose a measurement system, not a measurement tool. There are a variety of standardized measures out there. In many cases, the forms are open source and agencies are choosing paper and pencil administration and manual scoring. It's free, so seems like the best choice to many. Other agencies have opted to use affordable platforms like SurveyMonkey and have taken paper-based tools and created their own digital version for easier scoring and administration. Note, PCOM's licensing expressly forbids this practice. Purchasing a license for your agency to administer the suite of PCOM's tools does not include the right to digital administration or reporting. If you choose a paper and pencil administration option, you will experience one or more of these issues. First, fidelity to the measurement. With paper, it's hard to keep track. Without real-time reporting, it could be months before you realize that some providers or services are not administering the tools correctly, as frequently as required or at all. One agency had to throw out a year's worth of data because of these administration issues. My Outcomes not only reports fidelity, it also offers validity indicators to ensure the data collected is assessing what is required. Multiple assessments to choose from, another issue. Often to respect clinician preferences or to offer assessments suitable for distinctive subpopulations, various assessments are made available. This is problematic for implementation. It will take longer for this to become part of the routine and be problematic for cohesive reporting when acting on results is the goal. What happens is data gets collected but rarely acted upon. Data collection errors. Once the paper assessments are complete, someone has to enter the scores somewhere, and assuming no papers are missing, scores will get entered into the wrong file or the right file, wrong order. Ideally, a second person will need to review all entries to ensure information is accurate. Access to actionable results. According to the Joint Commission, it is no longer good enough to just successfully collect data. Meaning must be found in the data and subsequently acted upon in order to improve levels of care. Identifying clients who are not benefiting from treatment and having that reported in a timely fashion so that it can be acted upon before the client deteriorates further or drops completely out of treatment. This is proving to be the biggest challenge with ad hoc methods being employed today. My Outcomes real-time signaling system and case alert dashboard gives providers and supervisors the tools they need to meet this requirement. Next is proper planning and training. Creating a cultural shift should be the focus of planning and training. Joint Commission clearly states if staff are simply told they have to use the instrument to fulfill a Joint Commission requirement, chances are implementation will not be highly successful. Next, really important, is choosing your Transition Oversight Committee, your TOG. Choose them wisely. They are going to be responsible for educating staff, putting structural supports into place, addressing policy changes, adjusting human resource strategies, setting new expectations, and defining reporting mechanisms. Your TOG should be comprised of individuals who represent these various roles within your organization. Managers and administrators. In the business world, there is the old adage, where go the leaders, there go the people. It is important that decision makers be seen not only voicing support for change, but actually engaging in the process of change. Without complete and total support of leadership in word and deed, implementation is doomed. Leadership involvement provides moral support to the advocates of change and demonstrates the importance of the process to the skeptics of change. IT personnel is also key. In your organization, We expect that you are going to choose a user-friendly outcome management system with an intuitive interface, and that ideally you have IT staff that are well-versed in measurement-based care initiatives. There will be an element of setup and maintenance that will fall within their domain. So it is valuable to have IT personnel on the TOG from the beginning to ensure network setup runs smoothly from the onset. Supervisors. The same argument made for having managers and administrators on the TOG can be made for having supervisors. Furthermore, supervisors play the critical role of overseeing providers as well as being responsible for the training and development of providers. Supervisors are in a unique position to identify challenges and barriers that other roles could easily overlook. Providers and clinicians. Providers or clinicians represent the frontline service of any agency or organization. Throughout the implementation process, any challenges or barriers they experience are challenges and barriers for the entire agency and organization. It is highly valuable to involve both champions and skeptics on the TOG. Champions are advocates who will, with sufficient support, maintain much needed energy for successful implementation. They could be individuals with experience using PCOM standardized client feedback to inform care, or simply be familiar with the literature and deeply believe in the efficacy of routine outcome measurement. Skeptics are important, as they are likely to identify the severity of the challenges or barriers to implementation, as well as be a driving force towards pragmatic problem solving. Next is to assess your feedback readiness. Once you have a TOG, the next step is obtaining a quick assessment. This assessment will give you a clear understanding of your current baseline as well as the feasibility of your goals. This is centered around your timeline and available resources. In order to assess this, the International Center for Clinical Excellence published a Feedback Readiness Index fidelity measure. This is an organizational readiness checklist and evaluation tool for agencies, services, and our systems of care, designed to assist in the successful implementation of measurement-based care initiatives. The Feedback Readiness Index Fidelity Measure, or the FRIFM as it is known, provides detailed indicators of known factors for successful implementation. The FRIFM is designed to be completed by clinical staff, supervisors, and managers. Comparing their responses can help identify and foster discussions regarding the successes, challenges, and barriers to becoming a feedback-informed system of care. This phase is for educating staff, putting structural supports into place, addressing policy changes, adjusting human resources, setting new expectations, and defining reporting mechanisms. Studies within the science of implementation suggest that change in the overall practice environment is required, meaning clinicians are personally and positively influenced on all levels by this change. To accomplish all of this, creating your implementation team is imperative. This team will need to choose the type of initial training and consultation package they will need in order to address the challenges or shortfalls that were identified when completing the FRIFM. Project management is another key component of successful implementation. Investing in our implementation strategies produced superior treatment results and fostered a feedback-informed culture, leading to reliable improvements in client symptoms and functioning, 2.55 times greater than treatment as usual. This is a bold assertion made in the Bratland et al. 2018 implementation RTC that bolsters our confidence in stating that an accelerated cultural shift can be achieved by putting all the key factors in place from day one. The accelerated implementation model will require a 3-year commitment. Imagine if we could guarantee your agency that you could go from average to excellent in only 3 years. Well, we do. It's our goal. The key to project management is to move the whole organization forward with baby steps. In this PCOM's stepped approach, we slow down the process. The therapist will use the scales in such a way so that teams move through certain milestones in the first year. If you choose to start with a pilot, as is traditionally done, the first 4 provider steps can be skipped. The PCOM's stepped approach to implementation breaks down the PCOM's process at the provider level, moving through the steps one at a time. Number 1, step 1 is ORS mass adoption. The key is that everyone is doing it and the amount of change required by the providers is minimized. Mass adoption is less disruptive. So in step 1, the provider starts by just collecting outcome rating scale information and being curious about the red, yellow, and green symbol next to the client score, as well as reviewing progress on the client status report. Getting used to the real-time stoplighting system is the key. What's most important is that they begin to use it with every client of all ages, but for outcome reporting purposes, we're going to keep the client separated into 2 groups, your new clients and your existing clients. For the client, we recommend having a poster in the waiting room, introducing the outcome rating scale. This is something that is used in the National Health System of the UK to let clients know something different is going on at this clinic. For supervisors in step 1, we want them to use the dashboard reports just to ensure measures are being completed at the expected frequency. For administrators, it is important that at this point they set up monthly meetings with the TOG to review and adjust plans, monitor adjustments to productivity expectations. The next step is ORS engagement. This additional baby step can be added, allowing for feedback signals to be repressed during step 1. In this step, the client doesn't see their feedback results. This allows the therapist time to become comfortable with the results being reported and avoids them having to discuss the results with the client yet. Once they are comfortable with administration, it's time to add engagement. For the provider, this means they will begin to respond to results in a meaningful way, engaging the client in the process, tying the scores to treatment goals. For the client, we could look at a poster, this time about the client status report, and them being able to track their progress. For supervisors, weekly reporting on fidelity to the measures facilitated by case alerts. For administrators, check and see are cases getting closed when treatment ends. The next step is SRS mass adoption. The key is everyone understands how the information will be used and for the therapist to adjust to receiving and responding to feedback. For the provider, we're going to start by just administering the session rating scale and being curious about the stoplighting system, as well as reviewing the SRS scores in relation to the ORS scores on the client's graph. For the client, a poster introducing the SRS. For the supervisor, identifying off-track cases and reviewing them. Here we focus on the relation of the SRS to the ORS per session scores and the interpretation of what a low subscale total score reflects from the clinician's perspective. For the administrator, implementing a policy for identifying off-track cases that ensures rapid transfer and continuity of care. Step 4, SRS engagement. Step 3 gives therapists time to become comfortable with the results being reported before they begin engaging with the client's formalized feedback about their performance. For the provider, at this point, we want them to start responding to results in a meaningful way, engaging the client in the process. For the clients, it can be a poster about better outcomes using PCOMs. For the supervisor, PCOMs reports need to become part of individualized treatment planning and be used to identify at-risk cases and proactively address treatment needs. For the administrator, meet with TOG to review the milestones so far. Fidelity to the measure across all identified service providers within 2 to 4 months is the goal of the accelerated model. Step 5, introduce aggregate stats. Once every provider has an average of 40 closed cases, it's time to start monitoring therapist performance. Performance metric statistics can be used to report treatment effectiveness at the provider, service, or agency level. We have more steps, 6 to 10, which will are to support you during the second and third year of implementation. The second and third year milestones will focus on professional development and ongoing training and support. The education of staff on PCOMs at all levels, including new hires. Dedicated resources. Choosing the right measures and the right platform. Choosing the right measures and the right platform and assessing how it will be implemented, how training will be provided. In order to incorporate this into the culture is a tall order for agencies, overworked, underfunded agencies. My Outcomes is here to support your team, offering you key components required for successful implementation. My Outcomes innovative outcome tracking tool provides real-time analysis of client improvements through customizable dashboards that offer at-a-glance risk identification of at-risk cases with interactive graphs that allow for multiple comparisons and options to add and review session notes by rolling over a data point. The key differentiator between My Outcomes and other platforms is simplified and streamlined administration. With over 20 language options, My Outcomes mobile app and web-based solutions grants dedicated professionals the freedom to incorporate it into their practice, using it every time with every client. The quantifiable feedback also serves as a self-supervision tool. On teams, this helps shift the cultural norm as a common language emerges that begins to inform care, treatment, and services. On Track, the art of implementation, provides the expertise, tools, and experience to integrate My Outcomes and feedback-informed treatment into your organization. On Track will provide you and your agency with personalized needs assessment to support implementation, installation planning, and support documentation, live, online, or in-person training and consultations with implementation experts and certified fit trainers, real-time, real-life strategic implementation plan with long-term support tactics and success metrics. Fit e-learning is a standardized, scalable solution to fully support your outcome tracking and reporting goals. Fit e-learning helps providers begin applying the basics of feedback-informed clinical work immediately. Engaging, well-crafted teachings with Scott Miller, 12 interactive lessons centered on core fit competencies. It includes Manual 1, What Works in Therapy, a primer, Manual 2, Feedback-Informed Clinical Work, the basics, PCOM psychometrics and reporting is included, as well as how to use feedback-informed treatment in specific populations. Successful completion of this course will lead to an excellent understanding of PCOMs and FIT, create a meaningful outcome and session rating scale process for clients, and help to adopt a simple red, yellow, and green signaling system to keep sessions on track. You will learn how to map your clinical effectiveness across clients, identify your professional baseline, and measure micro improvements in future skills growth. You can also earn a certificate for 12 hours of online psychotherapy training and feedback-informed treatment, as well as qualify for 12 CE credits through ceunits.com. Fit Deliberate Practice is the latest addition to Fit e-learning, and it applies the science of expertise to the field of mental health. Fit Deliberate Practice e-learning contains cutting-edge information, and the production values are simply fantastic. It provides a roadmap for addressing a fundamental issue in mental health. How can therapists improve and become experts? It will help providers develop an individualized plan for improving effectiveness based on the latest scientific evidence on expert performance. This course can support quality improvements in years 2 and 3. Upper management support. Bratland et al. Found that even when all recommended best practices were put in place, no difference in treatment outcomes were reported in the first year. We have since found that a critical place to start is in inviting upper management to buy into realistic expectations of first-year goals. First-year goals should focus on cultural shift and fidelity to the measure, not psychometric analysis of aggregate statistics or expecting noticeable quality improvements. Setting expectations at an attainable level where will allow everyone to stay engaged in the process. When all dedicated resources are securely in place, then year 2 and 3 improvements will be in alignment with RTCs. A doubling in effectiveness should be expected. This needs to be reinforced so that implementation efforts do not fade or decline. Key upper management initiatives include first, getting consensus among agency directors and senior management, acknowledging and recognizing that patient feedback, team accountability, and PCOMs are central features of agency service delivery. A business financial plan incorporating PCOMs needs to be put in place, as well as the infrastructure. It needs to be adjusted to promote regular communications with funders about PCOMs data as it applies to overall agency effectiveness and efficiency. Human resources training and development plans supporting ongoing PCOMs education for staff at all levels, including individual professional development plans, performance appraisals, and hiring practices needs to be put into place. Obviously, using a system like My Outcomes, so that you have the infrastructure to support this. If you do all of this, we are confident agencies investing in our measurement-based care implementation best practices will produce superior treatment results. It's anticipated to foster a feedback-informed culture leading to reliable improvements in clients' symptoms and functioning in the amount of 2.5 times greater than treatment as usual in less than 3 years. This will be the service transformation you have been looking for and will prove to be well worth the investment required for realizing overall cultural shift and implementation success. Thank you for your time today and for joining us in this presentation. If you're interested in learning more about My Outcomes, we encourage you to download the My Outcomes mobile app or to contact our team for more information. We will be sending you a copy of the guide, and thank you for your time and good luck with your future success goals.